Hey, what's up guys? In today's video, I want to talk about why reading is such a language hack. At least I'll talk about my experience and kind of what I feel about reading, especially in terms of my Spanish journey. I've done a bunch of listening practice in Spanish. I've gotten like a couple thousand hours of Spanish input. I just recently hit 3,000 hours. So if you guys want me to make a separate video on that, you can put it in the comment section below. But I don't think it's like very different. I mean, between 2,000 hours and 3,000 hours, I feel like, yeah, there's a big difference. You can like speak more and do stuff like more in the language and stuff. But I can put some more details in that video. But anyway, today I want to talk about reading and kind of talk about what I have been doing. So I have this thing, which is like an encyclopedia in Spanish, and it's pretty awesome. I'll kind of show you guys what it talks about. So there's like space, earth, like life or like biology and stuff like that. And then this one also talks about like the human body, science and history, a bunch of other stuff more. By the way, I'll put a link to this in the description box below if you guys want to see it. Pretty much I started reading that because I wanted to kind of branch out on my vocabulary in Spanish, because one thing with listening is that like listening is amazing because you get to speak the language well. You can understand natives on like day-to-day topics and stuff like that. But when it comes to like branching out to like politics or I don't know, talking about space or talking about science and stuff like that, there's a lot of little words that we take for granted, especially in our native languages, that we just like automatically are like, oh yeah, I just know how to talk about that. Like for example, if you give me a discussion on like, if you tell me to talk about science in English, I can kind of get my way around it without really knowing too much about it. But in Spanish, I definitely notice that it's a little bit harder. Like some of the words or like structures or like how to say like solar system and stuff like that. I can tell that I'm like not as keen and stuff like that in getting those words. So I feel like reading really helps with that. And I was thinking like, okay, maybe I can just listen to a bunch of stuff that talks about it, or like listen to like Neil deGrasse Tyson type of videos, like science videos, to be able to obtain those words. But reading is a lot more efficient because you can just read a book and kind of gives you a breadth of everything, of like all the words in that specific domain, which is pretty awesome. If you like listen to a video, they'll like go over the different topics, but I feel like a book really goes more into detail with using like different terms and stuff like that, because people, I feel like, don't use those kind of terms in normal day-to-day speech, especially even when talking about specific topics. So I feel like I tried this, so I got this encyclopedia, which is pretty cool, which talks about kind of a bunch of stuff. But I'll tell you guys the real hack, which is getting the Kindle app on your phone, or if you have a Kindle, you can use the Kindle as well. But yeah, getting the Kindle app on your phone, and I'll go ahead and show you guys what I mean. Okay, so you guys can see I have a Kindle app here. If I click it, it'll open up Kindle, and so you can see a bunch of the stuff I've been reading now. If I go to Biblioteca, you can see all of the books that I've been reading like just recently. So I just finished up El Principito, which is pretty cool. And I did 9 Japanese Habits. I read this one, which was like a summary of Steve Jobs' life and stuff like that. Like a very quick summary of Steve Jobs' life, which is pretty cool. And one thing that I really liked is I found this series, which is by Ollie Richards. It's Topics That Matter. And as you can see, it talks about like Western philosophy, the human body, World War I, climate change and stuff like that. So pretty much just different topics that they touch on that I think I've touched on those in like various contents that I've listened to, but it's not as much as compared to the stuff that they talk about in these books. Like if I go to the human body, you can see that it talks about like esqueletos en nuestro cuerpo, and like the flexion and extension and stuff like that, which is stuff that yeah, you don't come across that quite often, especially in content. Like, I don't know, if you look at YouTube content, most of it is talking about like day-to-day stuff, and people usually talk more leisurely. They're not going to be like talking and using like super specific words, like femur and stuff, like femur or cráneo or like stuff like that. And also, this is pretty cool because it touches on a bunch of different topics. So you can talk about Western philosophy if you want to. So I started doing this, and I noticed that I'm learning a lot of different words that I feel like I knew them before, but I didn't know them well enough to be able to use them, which is pretty cool. I feel like I'm learning a lot, at least from like learning a lot of vocabulary that I wouldn't have learned, or I would have needed like more hours of input, like a lot of more hours of input on those different topics for me to be able to get the type of vocabulary I want to learn from there. And another cool thing is what I've been doing is that I've been speaking out loud, or like reading these textbooks out loud, or like these books out loud. When I read like the first 5 minutes and stuff, I feel like that helps a lot, especially with pronunciation. I feel like in general, the like reading helps with pronunciation because of like vocalizing and stuff. But I feel that like reading out loud for the first like 5 minutes really helps like hone in on different types of word groups. Like what I've noticed is that there's a lot of word groups, like a word that's like said very similarly. Like these group of words are said very similarly. Let's say in science or whatever. Like química, like imika, like this word, the last part of the word is like used quite often when describing like something like that. So once you get practice like saying that word like over and over, like the first 5 minutes, like you trying to pronounce stuff, I feel like that kind of opens up and unlocks other words that are very similar to that word, which is pretty cool. At least I feel like it helps me for my speaking, and definitely I can tell that it helps me with expressing myself better. I feel like I can express myself in those topics better, or even just in general, because I don't feel like I have that mental, like I'm like stuck, or like you kind of go blank and stuff like that. I feel like those moments are kind of less after reading more. And another thing I wanted to touch on is that at this point I'm at around 250,000 hours, or 250,000 words read in Spanish. So I think it's decent. It's not too bad. I feel like I can read general things pretty well, but not super well. I feel like once I get to 1 million, it'll be pretty cool. I can start just reading like novels and stuff like that, and take like fiction novels. I feel like fiction novels are actually pretty hard right now. But that being said, because of like the lots of input I've gotten so far, it really helps. It gives you a really nice boost in the beginning, actually being able to read these types of stuff. But I do think that the last step in kind of language learning, and this is like the last key step to do, or for you guys to do in language learning, is reading, especially after you've gotten so much input and you've kind of gotten the base of like how to say things, like how to get your accent down, at least decently. I feel like, at least for me, I feel like my accent is decent. It's pretty well in Spanish. So I feel like now I just have to do more reading to get more vocabulary and to kind of express myself better. So yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. I'll also leave a link in the description box below of how you guys can download this. And yeah, I'll leave all the links in the description box below. Let me know if you guys wanted me to make more stuff like this, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.